Can hear you. What about you? Do you see me and hear me?
I am over P12, but network issue table the arrows the biggest concern. So I
Yes, I'm so
over
sorry for the occasion.
yeah. I will prepare all the necessary thing, but this the certain time this problem becomes the main problem. So I solve here. So we can start our meeting. Give you permission.
Can you repeat the last sentence, please?
Can we start our meeting?
Oh, I don't understand what you're asking.
Can we start our meeting? We just start.
Yes, we can start our interview. Of course we can.
Just tell that thing. So firstly, I introduce inform for the audience because I have mentioned that before. I have a YouTube channel, and after the finishing the interview, I will share all the discussion. So for the audience, so introduction part is the very important for the audience and for any formal interview session. So firstly, I inform my audience. So firstly, I just little bit collect your data from your Facebook profile. Just your surname maybe Tamar, as I pronunciation is well.
So you can pronounce my name is Tamar Tatuli Gvinianidze.
This is the short name. This is the biggest name. Just you can
use. I can be just Tatuli.
Yeah. Firstly, initially I start our meeting and I inform my audience. Tamar is a famous author of Georgia. Her best two-seller book is Confession on the Plum and A Week in the Room. So most importantly, he is not only famous in Georgia but also a well-known author all over the world. Especially in front of me as a special guest, I invite you. So I firstly ask you, what about you and how are you and what the going in the day?
First of all, thank you for your interest. It's a pleasure to have this communication with you.
Yeah.
I feel good, thank you. And I'm interested in how are you?
Yeah. So I can use a WhatsApp and how are you? I am also pretty fine. I also curiosity and meet with you and because you are very intellectual and famous author.
Thank you so
much. It is my honor to meet with you and connect with you, and I appreciate because you instantly reply my message. So it is the very hardest thing, but you can do it. So for this reason, I thankful for the invitation accept and you in front of me. So it is my hardest thank you for me.
So great pleasure, really. Yeah. I know that you are also a writer, and it's important when two authors are meeting and communicating.
Yeah. Now, previously my interview was the Robert Buckland. He was the MP of the UK and former Justice Minister. He's the biggest personality and political person. Just took the interview.
Wow.
So forget about all about the thing. Just we can go through in our interview session. The interview session mainly discuss your all work and all of the book. So firstly, I want to know about the main theme of the 2 weeks. You wrote the 2 weeks. Initially, I just know the main theme. What is the main theme of the books?
Okay. A good question. Yeah. If we talk about the book A Week in the Room, the main topics are existential crisis, the influence of parents on the personal formation of child, separation from the family structure, self-determination, freedom and its role in personal growth, also mental health and related stigmas, choosing a profession and also forbidden love.
That is the pretty interesting story. We cannot see anything like that, but you can do it. So I appreciate your work and I appreciate your book. And also the share when your picture in my Instagram. Many of friends curiosity about you, what he or she are. So I told that thing, you are the bestseller writer books and more curiosity and just I tell you just you should written in English language because it is very helpful for understanding the other world because when you using on mother tongue but you just understand the one your community but other world, internal world, you don't understand.
Speaking, sorry for interrupting. We already done this work. I mean, we translated in English. It's just editorial works to be done. And after this, I can send it to you, and you will able to read it on yourself.
It is my pleasure that you respond and you we can exchange our idea via messenger. So, and second question for you. Maybe your book focus on the how important is a freedom for a person and what is in his role in shaping it. To find the answer to the question and get right of the novel, Lucas, maybe main character, maybe Lucas, and travel to the France to the enjoy to the bohemian life. Can you explain how to define the freedom in your book and why need individual freedom in a person? Maybe you got my question.
Interesting topic. I would love to answer. So, two narratives and two definitions of freedom are developed in the work, and the reader is given the opportunity to choose the meaning of freedom which suits him or her. Matilda thinks that Matilda is also main character. Matilda thinks that freedom is self-control. Self-control comes in adulthood. Obsession and persistence are common in youth. So as you grow up, you get closer to that complete freedom. When you manage to hook your wishes and get closer, you get closer to that freedom. But Lucas thinks the other way. For him, being free means to do whatever you want. And he thinks as your intelligence increases, the ability to be free is taken away from you. And also, he thinks that dreaming is one of the form of being free. I agree with him in this part. And I will add that he thinks if you are the king of your life, then you can be free. I'm interested, what do you think about freedom?
That is the pretty interesting information as usual, and relate the freedom thing. And it is the really relevant part of our life, but you describe that brilliantly. So I appreciate your writing quality and the specific you. Maybe I lost you. Can you hear me?
We were disconnected, I think. Maybe it's because of internet issue.
Internet issues travel very. It is the very biggest problem. I hate these types of the attitude of the internet. So it is not my hand. So whatever I do. So again I will start. So and whatever the discussion I just mentioned here, you write that differently. Your thinking power is totally different in other water. And we see that you mentioned your main character Lucas the freedom and describe the whole about the novel. So it is the pretty interesting information as a freedom definition, and as an individual person must need a actual freedom. But you describe a development process is the growing up gradually day by day. So I appreciate your writing quality and other things. So third question is for you. How do you create your main character?
Okay. First, I choose a problem or a dilemma, and then character is created around it. And he has to deal with these issues. For example, when the idea of freedom, importance of freedom arises in my mind, a character is automatically created. The protagonist becomes someone who has to fight for freedom and realize what is the cost of personal liberty. It's necessary to understand the path that he must take to gain this freedom and what kind of obstacles obstacles he will face, because this becomes the story of the protagonist. And also, this is a chance to show your readers his or her personal traits. As you see this way, not only protagonists, but also the whole book is created. So I think problematics and thematics gives birth to the main character.
That is the good, and your hold that character and using that character. Maybe your second book, you using the character, the main character is Lucas, and centerist Lucas, you describe the whole of the novel. So it is the most interesting thing. So, and fourth question is for you. Who is of the main character do you relate to the most, and why? Can you understand my question?
Wow, okay. If we consider the similarities, I think I'm quite similar to both Lucas and Matilda. Each of them may even be the origin of my feminine and masculine energies. As you know, both types of energy are accumulated in each of us. And before we choose one of them, for this ultimate self-realization, we need to know both energies. Perhaps the main thing I have in common with Matilda is that I take a rather philosophical approach in everyday life. And I'm in constant search, and I believe that biggest and most interesting journey begins with us, with the in us, and ends there. This makes a kind of a circle. Matilda also is a soul searcher and a torch for people, helping them to find the path and lead them to themselves, to their life mission. And about Lucas, I'm like Lucas too, because exactly like him, I tried to live up to hopes and expectations that people have around me, for me. I was a perfect family member, perfect student, perfect girlfriend, and eventually I rebelled and broke through this unhealthy guilt, and my personal separation started. I'm also like Lucas because he enjoys life. And I also can enjoy life in the moment when I'm in the moment.
That is the pretty interesting history, and I see the conversation. Lucas you give the lot of the freedom. For that reason, he complete your work. His own decision. Don't care about the past and don't care about the other man. What can he say or other man he say? But he just take a one decision what he will do. So it is the amazing story. And next question is for you. Each character has their one unique back story. Was there any challenge in making each character in different?
Okay, I believe that people do not choose each other by chance. This opinion is supported by many psychological and social studies, including the works of Freud and Jung. By the way, I touched on the mentioned topic in my novel and formed the opinion that people we choose as friends or partners pre-existed in our consciences in two ways, striking similarities and radical differences. More specifically, we choose those who are like us personally, or like the environment in which we grew up. Because in this case, the mind repeats familiar patterns. And in the second case, we choose people who are completely different from us because we touch what we lack. Considering the mentioned point of view, of course, it's not difficult to work on the differences between the characters because all the unique stories I create eventually intersect and find common background. Since literature is reflection of our lives. It's like a mirror for us. And people are really similar to each other. Just like them, all the characters are similar to in some way. For example, we suffer in the same way. We strive for happiness. We want to get to know outside the world and to know ourselves. We learn to love and fight against our fears or complexes. So all of my characters have this kind of battles. And that makes them similar to each other. So it's not difficult to write their stories.
It is very hardest time and maintaining the characterization and character development, and each character is totally different, and it is the hardest time to relate each character to any other character. So it is the very hardest time. As an author, I can feel it because I face this problem. And you are a great author because already you wrote the 2 books. Or only I just wrote 1 book. So you have experienced a lot of the knowledge and lot of the hardest experience you can face and the solve according your own way. So it is the very common thing. As an author, you can face the characterization all of the novel maintain. It is the very tough. So I appreciate these types of activities when you maintain of the characterization of the novel. So the next question is for you. And do you have any personal connection to the story or the character? Because as a writer, when you feel something or saw something, then you can write down in our one book or any other relevant part of our life. So my question is here: do you have any personal connection to the history of the character?
Okay, I would answer this question like this. You are always connected to your characters, more or less. Each of them will show you who you are or who you're not and will never be. I think characters play the same role in the reader's life.
And that is the pretty smartly answer for all our audience. So next question, and do you have any challenges the writing this book, and if so, how do you overcome them?
Okay. Well, working on the book is not a chore. On the contrary, it's a great pleasure for me personally. So I would. So it would be hard to single out one episode on which I did a difficult job. Instead, I could touch one thing. So the point is, the protagonists arise in Europe, as you already know. In the book, we have 3 lines, and 2 lines take place in Georgia, the capital Tbilisi, and also the small town where Lucas was born and raised. But 1 line we have in Paris. But when I was writing that book, I had never visited Paris by then. So I researched and studied every landmark, streets, specifics of environment, and even smells. And after I finished book, I went to Paris to check myself. It turned out that I was up to the challenge brilliantly. While reading the book, the realistic Paris come alive before your eyes, and after finishing the last page, you feel as you already traveled to France.
So you lot of struggle for this book, I understood, because you lot of research and lot of
I don't think that it was a struggle. It was a journey, pleasant journey.
It was a pleasant. It is a long journey, maybe. Because
journey for 5 years.
So
I was writing this book for 5 years.
This is the huge time. As an author, maintain the long time research and wrote down the publishing courses.
Exactly.
So I appreciate your passion, because you long time passion for this publishing for this book. So and next question for you, and do you find it more challenging to write the first book in a series or write the subsequent novel?
If I understood the question in the right way, I would answer you like this, that I don't write book series. Each novel is self-contained, with new characters, new dilemmas and plots. Publishing a debut novel in general is difficult because it requires a lot of courage. You have to present yourself to the public for the first time, and to a large extent, the impression you make on the readers will be followed in the future during your whole career. Whatever you write in the future, society will be guided by the first impression about you and your talent. However, in the first book, if the first book turns out to be successful, as for example, my book Confession of the Palmless, you have a huge responsibility when publishing the second book. With a new novel, you have to outdo yourself in the first book. You have to work hard and tirelessly spend colossal energy and time to develop as an author and as a person too. That is to refine your writing skills, language techniques, and as a writer to move on and to get to the next step, next level of development.
It is the main theme of the as a author we face, and it is the toughest to maintain that. So the next question: when did you first realization that there is a writer hidden within? And I mean, when did you realize that you want to become a writer and author?
Okay. If my family members are to be believed, first I started to create stories, and then I started writing. At the age of 3, I was already telling magical fairy tales and creating unique characters. I had a very bright future. Past, I am in childhood. I was involved in space battles. Sometimes I traveled in the underwater world, and sometimes I tried to save the enchanted forest from the evil witch, and so on, so on. Considering this background, it's not surprising that matured imaginations were ultimately reflecting in creativity. It would be a lie to tell you that one day I just woke up and decided to start writing books. No, it was like it happened very organically and naturally. The verbal stories were followed by games, and playing was followed by diaries, and diaries were followed by sketches and stories. And in the culminating part, I just tackled novels. By the way, this is where I feel the most comfortable.
I see. Listening from the whole discussion, I just assumption you maybe has an interest, earliest is you writing something, then you grow up gradually and mature, then you writing the intellectual way. So I appreciate, because I have a quality when I'm earliest write something about in our environment and outside. Just imagination and wrote down in the paper or diary, as I mentioned in here. So it is the best quality, and this quality cannot find any other student. And as an author, you just face these types of activities.
Yes, I do.
So and this is the last 2 questions in front of you. What is your inspiration for this book?
Well, I think I can single out 2 main inspirations. I wanted to help people who are going through the difficult road of mental recovery. I wanted to ease their situation and give them hope, to show that they are not alone, to make them see that they have a great chance of winning this battle, and in the end, their lives will not return to their old ways, but will become better. Because when you win such a big war with yourself, it's impossible not to be rewarded by the world. And the main reward, I think, is resilience, as well as all the answers to those questions that changed your value system, made you see the world in a new, different way. My goal was to show the public how the stigma associated with mental health affected individuals, those who are facing this challenge right now or have already come back from this difficult battle. And secondly, I also aimed to restore broken bridges between parents and children. Seniors and juniors seems to speak the same language but still do not understand each other, which often complicates the situation. And sometimes it makes unbearable. These underground processes are full of misunderstandings, confrontation, blaming each other, judgment, and heartache. In turn, affect the person in adulthood, becoming the source of internal conflicts. I think that after reading the book, children will learn things that about their parents that usually become clear only after they become mothers and fathers themselves. And adults will remove the this coverage that limits their field of vision and view, and discover the reality perceived through the eyes of their children. And as a result, both parts, children and parents, take one step towards each other. That was my inspiration.
For this reason, I see through the Facebook, lot of your reader, maybe lot of reader follow your Facebook page and appreciate your work, because lot of the personal life or main real life situation, this type of problem we face, when you find that types of the solution in your book, they already appreciate your book. For this reason, your book is very famous in Georgia. I also appreciate. I will best of luck of you luck for this book. This book is favored all over the world, and everyone read your book and understood what the expectation to our real life and what should be. So, and the last question for you on all of the interview session. How does it feel knowing that people all over the world are reading your words or novel and connecting with the story? It is as a author, we can feel it when other person who read our book. When you feel that types, then when that time, what the feeling about that?
First of all, of course, you are happy and proud of yourself. Because you could do that. Also, you are convinced that you made the right choice. You realize that you direct your energy and potential there where you get good results. You fulfill your mission, you help people find their way out, offer to problem solve and convince them that they are that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. So they should not give up and must fight for their dreams. Being an author of bestseller allows you to reach as many people as possible and make their lives better, help them to fall in love with themselves and teach them how to enjoy life.
That is the pretty interesting answer, as I expect from you. But it is not our interview, it is my personal asks, and many other little authors just ask you, what the suggestion for the young author, as a young author, what should be quality to hold as a writing thing? So what is your suggestion for the advice for as a young author?
So the question is how old you should be to release your book, or how do you release your book? I didn't answer the question.
Oh, that is the pretty answer. So I appreciate your patience and your timing for me and you. It is my honor. Firstly, as you mentioned, you are as a guest, and after finishing the interview, I will upload our Facebook page, and I also share with you via messenger. Then see all over the person and always know about you, and more curiosity about knowing your. Many of the older brother also already knocked me. Who is she? I also tell you that later she is the bestseller author. So I thank you for appreciate your book and also all.